Welcome to the Town of Richmond meeting of the Water and Sewer Commission. It's September the 18th, 2023. And we got quite a crowd here today. So I hear somebody coming, but I guess we can continue on. Anyway, thank you for joining us today. And we'll wait just 1 minute here, maybe, for Erin to take her seat as well. Maybe we'll say welcome and public comments. Anybody? Okay. Any additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda?
Morgan, this is Bart. I have one. I think if we could add a brief discussion of wastewater in the swale, it sort of fits under potentially item C. Because it is sort of an ask of us, is there anything we can do to reduce or mitigate wastewater going into the esplanade? I'm referring it to the esplanade swale.
Right.
For convenience, anything we can do to reduce the future possibility of wastewater entering that swale.
Okay. So add it. The other thing I'd like to add to this is a quick comment on the letter to the Northern Border Regional Commission's status report. And that has to do with the loan of $150,000 that we are, I think it's more of a grant for expansion of the water sewer to the gateway. Erin, anything to add?
I don't think so.
Okay, thank you. So moving ahead, first we'll go to the minutes, approval of the minutes from September the 5th, 2023.
David, you're upside down.
Like Mary Poppins.
Yes, that's interesting. So good.
It's apropos. It's good.
That's right. Any comments on the minutes, or should we make a motion first? We should make a motion first.
Sure. We'll have to make sure I have the right date.
September the 5th.
This is Bart, a motion to approve the minutes of the Water Sewer Commission meeting of September 5th.
Morgan, this is David. I'll second.
Thank you, David. Discussion, changes, comments. I have a few. I want to just thank Erin for getting me to read the minutes. So they're all, Duncan, thank you for doing the minutes. This is a labor of love, as they say. On line 144, it was a comment I made, and I think it's first line where it says, if the town wants the 4 others, I think that is supposed to be FOR.
Okay. Yeah.
When it wants 4 others the opportunity. And then down on line 177, Joy had made comments, and I think we want to insert there. I just made the change where the first line says the sewer line is a PVC line, comma, we found in. So it has to do in reference to the line that's in place at the school that she had researched and found in Tyler Billingsley's report. Then in line 260, Josh had made a comment. First line, a negative number means that we build for less. I think bill, B-I-L-L-E-D. Minor, but maybe would be confusing if looked at years later. And that's it. That's all my comments. So with that, motion to approve the minutes from September the 5th. Calling for a vote. David?
This is David, I.
This is Aaron, I.
Bard, aye.
Morgan, I. Motion passed. Next up, we have one warrant. I believe that's correct, isn't it?
You're gonna pull that up or?
This is Bard, motion to approve the warrants as presented.
Do you have a second?
This is Aaron, I'll second.
All right, discussion. David? Oh, he's talking to somebody. Okay. So no discussions or comments, calling for a vote to approve the warrant for number 21962 in the amount of 31,886 and 36 cents. Calling for a vote. David?
Morgan, this is David, I.
This is Aaron, I.
Bard, aye.
Morgan, aye. A motion has passed. And if you have that, you can pass it around and we can find
okay,
it as
yep.
we're talking there. So next on our list of items, number 4 items for presentation or discussion with those present. Item A, consideration of recommending the select board approve the Clean Water State Revolving Fund application for 20-year wastewater treatment facility evaluation. I believe this has to do, it's a loan that is 50%
Subsidy.
yeah, subsidy. That sounds like pretty good. Free money's a good thing to approve. And so we just need a motion to approve for the commission to approve this or request that the select board is actually the governing body to actually vote on and approve the loan.
Morgan, this is Bard. I move to recommend the select board approve the CWSRF loan application for the 20-year wastewater treatment facility evaluation.
Morgan,
This
this
is-
is David, I'll second.
Okay, David? Good.
I got you.
Ward made the motion, David second. So do I have this is calling for a vote to approve or disapprove the motion? David?
Morgan, this is David, I.
This is Aaron, I.
Bard, aye.
Morgan, aye. The motion has passed. Item number 2, discussion of billing for water used for floodwater cleanup. I need to pull goofed up. I just deleted something. There we go. No, there. Apologize. It's had a little glitch here.
If you want, I do have the memo to it.
Okay, yeah, there we go. So, so yes, we've had a couple discussions on previous commission meetings in reference to abating cost of residents that either that use water for cleaning up for the flood. And let's see, discussion of that.
So Morgan, if I may, I think the question is, do we want to appoint or nominate 2 commissioners to work on creating a policy for forgiveness for water and wastewater bill due to unexpected events like leaks, floods, or other anomalies? If I understand it correctly, the issue with the flooding was not flooding per se, it was actually leaks associated with the plumbing. So root cause analysis, that all goes to leaks. And a leak caused by a flood versus a leak caused by something else, freezing or breaking, strikes me as comparable. So I think there are 2 questions before us. Are there 2 commissioners that want to work on that? And I think there's another legal question about retroactivity.
Right.
And I will say, I am sort of an old school stick in the mud from my experience in state government. You can't change things retroactively. Like, I can't make you eligible for a program today based on changing criteria from last year. It's like, it goes from here forward, not back. And I am certainly receptive to the circumstances in which people find themselves associated with the flood. But I'm also conscious of precedent for the commission and the select board as a whole about retroactivity, so to speak, including other people who have suffered high expenses due to leaks in the last 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Sorry, my question is how retroactive, under what circumstances? And noting that a policy that does exist going essentially requires people proving that they can't afford to pay it, that it's an undue hardship. And I'm not convinced that that's currently the situation we're facing. It's burdensome, but perhaps different from undue hardship. And I will also note that this commission has actually turned off people's accounts because of failure to pay where there was evidence that they could not afford to pay.
Right.
And so I wrestle with leaks and other untoward things. And it would appear to me that at least one or two of those families literally could not afford what they were getting, much less could they afford what they were getting, plus, another 100, 200, 300 bucks. So that's a sort of ethical challenge that I see in front of us.
Right. Aaron?
I guess I agree with a lot of what,
Nothing there.
Oh, that's
Anybody
good.
hear us?
if someone on Zoom could just say if they could hear us.
We can hear you.
Yes,
Okay, we lost the ability to see you, but as long as you can hear us,
You are lost in space.
yeah, give us,
Can't see you, maybe. you can
give
see
us
us.
1 second.
Yeah.
We're
We can
working on-
also see you.
Okay,
Oh,
Well, we just can't see
oh,
you.
no, it's just coming, it's coming back, I think.
okay.
Oh, no.
I guess I agree with Bard, in what he said. I think he put that very well. My observation is, and this is just something that I know because of our own leak. I think if someone had a leak that was not caught early, if our leak had started at a different point in the billing cycle, we could have had a $10,000 or $15,000 leak. And I think that is a much different story than something that was caught in a day or two. And it does seem like hopefully when we are able to get the new meters, we'll be in a position where we will see if there is something like that happening. But it does seem a little bit to me like what Bard said about is it bothersome or burdensome?
Right.
I'm not sure.
Yes.
So
I don't know
anybody
where
else?
we draw that line. but
Yeah, anybody else have comments? David?
they just-
Now we're off.
Now we're definitely off. Anybody on Zoom hear us?
Oh,
yes, I
oh.
can hear you.
Okay, David, do you have any comments or to add or?
I agree with what Bard said. We can't, change a policy today and make it retroactive to cover the issue that brought us to where we are. But I would be interested in a policy going forward to address this.
Amendments, okay.
Morgan, I'm gonna observe that sounds like David volunteering to be one of the commissioners.
And you're so eloquent.
No, but if David would like, I would be willing to be a participant in that, or I don't know if Aaron would be interested.
I would be happy.
Okay.
Well, I say that, but if there's someone with a little more time in their life that wants to
Yeah.
do it, they can happily step up,
I
but
was wondering maybe if you and I could work on it and then we could
Yeah.
tap into Bard or David's wisdom, sage,
Such as it is.
such as it is sage advice. Okay,
Yeah,
so
I'd be willing to
and we
do that.
can handle it maybe by Zoom or whatever fits
Yeah.
your schedule.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've got a lot more flexibility. My kids are out of the house. so-
I'm more flexible during the day.
Okay,
It's the night times that get
Yeah.
crazy.
Morgan, I'll make one other comment. What I've often done under circumstances like this is start searching for what other people have done, like, water leak abatement policies, and try to find one that looks plausible
right,
and use that as maybe a starting point as opposed to just starting from a whiteboard,
yeah.
somebody else has already done the work.
Yeah, someone, or they've been up against the issue. I do know, I think, the comment was made, you're right, that, you become sort of, we could find ourselves in a little bit of a legal quandary as well by trying to do things that that we may not have the legal authority to do, that it's paying for this. You set yourself up for maybe bigger issues than you've actually solved. So, okay, we've created a committee. Aaron and I will work on that. And we will tap into David and Bard and wherever Jay is, his wisdom as well. So, thank you. All right,
David, were you giving us,
that was a thumbs up.
I will note, David, you are now right side up.
So, good. Next item, review of list of water and wastewater items to be repaired or replaced. We will. Steve is
Sure.
like to comment.
So it's pretty much, I mean, we're doing small things when we get to them. The big burning problem lately has been the press
Right,
for dewatering. It worked for 2 weeks after Alan left. And then after the Labor Day weekend, we couldn't make it press.
Hmm.
Couldn't make the mixture right, couldn't get it to do anything. Reached out to Fournier and they told me that they could get somebody down here to do a training. It was gonna be first week in December. I was like, that's not gonna work. Then I had a meeting, I had a meeting with the new engineer who's taking over our engineering project, the 20-year evaluation. The lead engineer has resigned from the company, and the person who has picked up to do our 20-year is the lady, Christian, who did the original upgrade 20 years ago. So she has some background with this. And she was very good. And when I told her about the problem we were having with the press, she reached out to Fournier and leveraged them very hard. They had an expert, they had a representative down to us within a day. They helped us get it sort of running. And their press expert is due, actually, he called today, he wanted to come Wednesday, we can't do it this week, but he's coming Monday.
Great.
So, and he's not only going to evaluate, train us on it and get us fixed, he's also going to evaluate whatever we need to spend to whatever it needs to get fixed. There's a lot of stuff. He FaceTimed me and we were able to get the press. He was able to get me to get the press running just on FaceTime.
Oh,
But he is well aware that there are lots of pieces of the press that have been
modified.
done away with, but he will assess all that and get us an estimate and do the training for Brad and I on the 25th, next Monday. So a week from today.
great,
And I thanked Christian. She basically told Fournier if they ever wanted her to put a press in another thing, they were gonna come down and fix this one.
There you go.
So
That's wonderful. So I'm curious, how many hours a week do you think you spend on operating the press?
I can tell you right now, today I started at 6 o'clock and I just left to come over here. 6 o'clock this morning. It is literally one person job running the press, modifying, changing things to make sure it's running all the time and running very efficiently. Basically, what happens if it's not running properly, we're putting solids back into the plant one, that's costing us money, and two, it's not good for the plant.
Mhm.
So we take the solids out when we waste, and then we press the liquid out of them. And if we're not pressing, if the solids, it's just making a constant. So yeah, it is a one-person job, and the press is 20 years old, had a lot of things that are wrong with it. It does run. I mean, there are times this past week that we got it running clear. But it doesn't last long, or, so, but, Isaac, the Fournier rep, he's out of Maine. And he swears to God we can get it going,
And,
and get it right.
and once if it was running optimally, is it still a full day job for one person?
No, I think we could run it and, have periodic checks on it during the day to make sure that it's optimal. But, be like started in the morning, let it go. Really, if it's running right, I can leave it at night and just let it run. It constantly fills out of the digester and everything, but it is, twice last week I was here at 8:30 to like 10 o'clock because there were problems with the VFD and the pump system or other things, just to get it to, so we could take some septage to mix with our wasting the next day.
That's not good. Okay.
So the press has really been the fire of the last couple of weeks, trying to get that working right. And hopefully next week. A few things that I think aren't. We received our second backwash pump for the filter. That came September 11th. We're gonna install that this week. So we'll have both filter tanks, will have two brand new backwash pumps on them. And the one that we're gonna take off, we're gonna get rebuilt for a spare to have on the shelf. So.
Great, spares, good, okay. Sounds good, and I will make the comment that we have two people operating a
Yeah.
3 or 4 person plant, so thank you very much, Steve and Brad. I appreciate that.
So Morgan, two comments. First, this sort of priority list illustrates the real-time nature of the work, that this is a priority until this other thing pops up and that becomes the priority. So in real time, things get moved around.
Yeah, it is really what fire we have to put out to keep the plant optimal.
Mm,
At that same point, like I say, we're moving forward with keeping things fixed. We have done a ton of cleaning. We can almost see the lab now. It really is, we have a complete lab and we send a lot of stuff out, paid to have a lot of tests done, that we have the materials to do the testing. I'm not saying I want to take it on right now, but there's no reason that we should be having all the tests done
right,
and paying for it when we have all the materials,
right, okay.
the machines and the testing stuff. So
Wow. It's like hiring a tech person just to help that has some lab experience to help you. Maybe.
right now we take anybody.
Okay. Okay.
We've had two, when we get to the staffing update, we interviewed one person, Josh and I did last week. And I had a gentleman come today. He lives in Richmond and he's seriously interested in the job, and he wanted to do a walkthrough and see what it entailed. And he didn't seem opposed to anything, and he gave me a resume and a cover letter. So, we'll set up an interview with him also.
Yeah, that's great.
Does that get us through item G as well?
We worked into it, but
Two birds, one stone.
Exactly. I have a follow-up question, and this is sort of an awkward one, because this will come up. I mentioned it to Morgan on the way in about modification of the agenda for the swale issue, which is a thorny issue. And I've been thinking, what could we possibly do to reduce the risk of flood infiltration, backing up and spilling, potentially in the future, spilling wastewater into the swale? And the more I thought about it, the less I had any feasible idea.
So I have some suggestions about that. The amount of water that was spilled out of the wastewater system into that swale is minute. Literally, it was an inch diameter hole in the cover that we use a pick to pull the cover off. And if you watch the video, that's all that was. I have and I think we've shown the manholes in the park, literally the covers come off and discharge. So also, if we seal those, it's just gonna discharge in the street. Where do you really want it? As soon as the flood went down, everything's been working properly. There's no backup, there's no breaks, there's no anything backing up into the swale from the system.
Is the swale between Esplanade and like the peat farm?
It's between Esplanade and Church Street.
Yeah.
The peat farm,
Oh.
well,
Jericho Settlers Farm.
Jericho Settlers Farm now is at the end of it.
Okay,
And literally Jericho Settlers Farm, and Josh has video because Pete and I took a trip with Josh one day. And the video shows it's running backwards into the swale from Jericho
So
Settlers.
that stormwater issue is a topic for the select board.
Yeah,
But back to the wastewater issue. Is there any sense in changing the manhole cover there, like sealing it or?
I don't think the amount that was discharged there was the issue. I mean, we could seal it. It's gonna leak out somewhere else, Church Street or Railroad Street uphill from it.
Further? Yeah.
And then run down. The swale is the swale. The issue is there's no drainage for that swale. Esplanade cuts it off from draining into Volunteers Green. And I believe that originally somewhere in the stormwater systems in the 1900s, there was a pipe that discharged into Volunteers Green from the swale, draining it.
So what I've
And that
heard,
pipe shows, I have a picture of it.
so that's worth looking at it, like if that's there, is it possible to resurrect it? I will say several people have noted to me that that swale appears to be the remainder of a former river tributary
Yeah.
or sideways. It's cut off now
Right.
because of development, but if you go back like 500 years, at some point it had been a side path during a
Right.
flood or something and moved the silt around, and now it's orphaned by being backed by
Well,
elevation arrest.
this side of it, there is a retaining wall that has been installed somewhere along the line, which has ended it. Esplanade seals it from draining into Volunteers Green, where I think it naturally did drain. This is a 12-inch clay tile that is in the bottom of it that obviously was part of a drainage system, now is open again, but it's pretty full. It's about a 12-inch pipe. That originally, I think, I don't know, went somewhere. I think it connected to either Bridge Street and then went to the river, or through Esplanade and into Volunteers Green into the river.
So without bogging down, because this is stormwater now,
Yep.
wastewater now. So is Pete aware of that?
Yeah.
So that's a conversation for
Yeah.
Pete.
But I think that the amount of water that really was generated from this, I don't want to see any of our water being the
right,
the sewer water being discharged anywhere. That's not my, my goal. My goal is to treat it all and get it down right. But in that flood situation, the amount that was being dumped there is minute compared to what was being dumped
voluntary green.
into Volunteers Green.
Right. I guess this gets back to stormwater in the sewer system, right?
Well, it's all related, but I was thinking just for this specific swale conversation, it's where is the water come from?
Mhm.
Stormwater is one issue, wastewater is another, and posing the question, is there any benefit to trying to seal the manhole cover that's closest?
Right,
That,
Yeah,
Is a real leak.
that is in Volunteers Green
right,
During
It's
the
coming
flood.
out of a manhole.
during the flood.
right,
So it's gonna wanna come out somewhere.
mhm.
I mean, there's nothing we can do about it because the system is so overwhelmed by infiltration from the flood.
And there is a manhole in the swale, or the swale is just
The
water that
manhole
got
is
stuck
to- The
there?
manhole is to the upper side. There are two manholes. They are both to the Church Street side. And are both on the upper side they're not at the bottom of the swale. They're on the upper side. And towards the condos or the houses on Church Street there. And both are operating at 100%. One of them just takes a couple of the houses and diverts it towards the other one. And the other one is actually one of the system that goes all the way up to Burnett's Court and to the schools. And is the main artery down to the sewer plant. And that one is the one that was overflowing. And that one is 100% operation. There's no plugs, there's no breaks. We pulled the cover, I pulled the cover twice since, I wasn't even made aware of that until almost a month after there was a discharge there. Which is the other thing. You know, I can't clean or do anything a month later. There's no.
right.
Morgan,
So
this is
Morgan-
David. I'm just asking the question, just putting it out there. Should we consider raising those two manhole covers? I guess that's the first question. The second question would be a follow-up question is, how often have those overflowed and realistically, how often would there be an overflow situation? I guess the second question is asking if the first question is even relevant or worth considering.
I feel that the only time that there would be overflows would be, in a flood event. I mean, we normally have flow through there. I mean, you don't want levels in your manholes. When we were, going around with the engineers, doing the 20-year upgrade and assessing every manhole that we have, those manholes were 100%. There's no blockage, no debris, no anything. I double checked with them. They said that they got A ratings. They're newer manholes and everything looked good in them.
So Morgan, Bart, does it seem obvious to say that one of the root causes here is stormwater going into the wastewater system? Like, let's not guess
No.
that people were flushing their toilets 100 times more during a flood
Right.
than not a flood.
Right.
So the water's not coming from wastewater.
Right,
No, but there is also. There's infiltration because in Volunteers Green, there are 7 manholes that were underwater. And
So it
they,
stops it at that end.
huh?
So it fills up from that end.
Well, they are taking in water because
Right.
they're basically underwater.
right,
And, you know, that is a problem.
right,
Now, the ones in Volunteers Green are already a 18 to 2 feet high. I mean, we can raise them more. I mean, but then you end up with these structures sticking out of the ground.
White Hills, yeah, it seems like, yeah, but I think where we're going with this, you'd have to re-engineer the whole system such that the manholes were same height as Route 2 to avoid overflows, right? And that the system really was not designed to act as a big reservoir for catastrophic environmental events.
I was late to the swale conversation because I think it started at the select board, but what is the swale conversation coming up because the water is staying in the swale and it's not like being
So
soaked back in? Was it?
every year since I've been here, in the spring, the swale fills up naturally.
Like a little spot in the field?
Yeah,
That's where I was
pretty
going
much.
with it.
Like the one in your field. As the spring gets warmer and days dry it out, it usually dries out. The problem being this year, we had the flood and it really filled up.
Right.
And the water table literally has been so high, it didn't dry up.
Yeah.
It didn't go away. And I know that the mosquitoes have been terrible and it's a problem, for people.
I
But
guess my question is there any way to like put a ditch in there with some better drainage? Like, is there a way to do?
here's the issue is it's all privately owned.
There are
It's
several issues, and we're
Well, I mean-
talking about a
Yeah.
select board topic,
Yeah,
because
that's
this is not wastewater,
fine. Okay.
but the issue is it's in the floodplain. So precursor of select board, what do we know about floodplains?
You can't
The
raise.
things you put in them go away when it floods.
Well, it's a plain
Yeah.
upon which water flows and sits.
Yeah.
And this is a low point in the floodplain that's now orphaned or isolated. And we also know two other things, that the town's authority on privately owned flooding rarely exists. We know that drainage associated with farms is not the town's purview.
Nope.
It is literally a different department.
Yeah.
Like, so
The state level, yeah.
it's the state agriculture, food and market, whatever it is.
I don't even,
And then if it is a private and it's not, this town's not culpable per se, then what is the town's role of solving standing stormwater infiltration on private land? And historically, the responsibility is zero, because there's stormwater problems in various parts of the town. And the town has tended to take responsibility for public property and for roads, but not private property.
I didn't realize it was on private
Yeah,
land.
it's-
I thought the
it-
whole reason you were talking about
No.
it was because it was on public land. So, gotcha.
Well, and the subtleties of that are difficult. If
Yeah.
you're like, if you live there, you have a problem, like you want help with it. And
Yeah.
so that's the conversation.
So, good.
Okay.
Basically, it's a swale, there's no drainage out of it. And yeah, I mean, it just happened this year, it filled up and their water table stayed high and it couldn't drain out. And
I know the
mean,
feeling.
But I mean, the amount of water, talking about the discharge from the manhole. Literally in the video, I mean, if you've watched it, it's just the pinhole, it's about an inch in diameter.
Enough to get the
The hook in to pull the cover off. The ones in Esplanade do not have those hook holes. They're a solid cover. But as you can see, the water will push them off.
Water
And
pressure, yeah. Yeah, well, okay.
so,
The other thing I thought of is, leave aside elevation, if you seal them with a bunch of old lines and you get head building up from up the hill, you then would seem to be prone to blowouts or leaks that are
Correct.
even a bigger problem.
yes,
Yeah, they're on the ground, then you gotta figure out where they are, right? Okay, all right. Well,
so
thank
in
you.
the tangent of the swale.
Sorry,
No,
thank you for that.
Yeah, good, all right. Moving along here, the review of monthly water data for August. That report, so pretty good. A couple points where they were out of spec, but it's probably either for the fluoride, maybe around when it was.
The fluoride, when it is low, are days that we have to mix it.
Right,
We're trying to figure out a better way so we don't have that. If we had a bigger water house, we could mix 2 containers and be able to switch. Basically, the powder basically we make a super saturated solution and the powder settles out, giving a constant solution. And so as we use it, it goes down and then we mix it back up again when we get to that point.
right. I think it's all good. I'm be great if we always stay within, we understand why it is.
Yeah.
And it's very doubtful that, very doubtful the state's gonna come back and go, oh, what's the issue here?
I mean, if you look at the average, we come right in the average where we shoot for. I mean, I'm not saying that it's not right, but
Right, and then chlorine, 1 day, that's pretty good.
Yep.
Really good, so.
and I think that was an issue with the check valve in the system.
Right,
Was plugged. We took it apart, washed it, put it all back together, and it came right back.
right, okay, so, good, and we're staying right where we want to on the lower side of that.
Yep.
0.8 to 4, temperature's good, great, all right, that's a good report, I think, thank you. Let's see, update on contracting for water meters. Duncan, you wanna?
Yeah, I think the only thing that I was reading is that there was just the attorney and Zenner are reviewing some of the details on the
Yeah.
contract and they're just waiting for that to kind of finish up. So I don't think there's too much on that. But yeah, there's setting up a meeting next week when Josh is back in town, I believe, Zenner and the attorneys.
My understanding that there could have been some potential issues in the past on contracts, and therefore the attorneys wanting to make sure that it's
I mean, that's why we-
favorable to the town.
That's why we pay the attorney.
That's right.
I don't know the specifics. I just know what the attorney says. You go, yeah, good decision.
Attorneys being cautious on
Right,
the
right, right.
side of the town there,
Right.
which is great. All right, that's good. Update on Gateway sewer expansion.
I know a little bit.
Okay, Bart,
So-
if you comment, please.
Yeah, so I've been part of some emails and phone calls and stuff, so what I understand is Richmond Land Trust set up, as described here, a subcommittee of Jeremy Hoff, Gary Bresser, and Wright Preston to work on an easement with the town. As Jeremy said, I think the last time here, said this is not a modification of the existing easement for the REITs. It would be from scratch or de novo with the town. And there was email today that where they wanted to include Joy or the REITs in that conversation. And so it's still not clear to me, frankly, why, because I said this in email, so I said, well, there's the REITs who are at the bottom of the hill, then there's other Gateway property owners who are interested. Then there's the school who we're gonna have to deal with them with an easement and either replacing a line or extending a sewage line and taking it over. And then there's the state folks who approved the easement. So it's not just the REITs, it's a bunch of other parties. I'm not still entirely clear why we involved the REITs or any of the other parties in an initial meeting, but that's where it stood, that I think Richmond Land Trust wanted to, and I still am not clear why. So that's what I know as of this afternoon.
Mhm. Yeah, it very much sounds like that, if the school wants the town to take the line over and that the town would like the possibility of extending the line past the Reeves property, that it's really between the town and the land trust more so than
I think so,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that Richmond Land Trust has an interest in development generally, but I'm not sure how that specifically relates to this easement for the town.
Right,
I've said all along, when asked, what does the Water Sewer Commission think should go in the gateway? I'm like, not our job. That's zoning, planning, permitting. And we ultimately will bump into capacity. So at some point, there may be like people want to join who can't join. That was what it was like 30 years ago when I moved here and the cheese plant was still in
Yeah.
operation.
Hmm.
They're at capacity. Nobody gave up a bedroom. And there was almost like it was right at the brink, right? So that's the only interest or break that I see the Water Sewer Commission having. That at some point, if we're hitting capacity, wherever a new customer wanted to come from, they'd be on a waiting list or frozen out unless we upgrade our capacity.
Right.
Do you have any idea like what percentage of our capacity we're using right now?
We're about at 2/3 capacity.
And where max is somewhere around 80%, 90%.
Yeah. You don't want to go much
Right.
Yeah.
more than that.
You don't want to hit 100% because you're going to spike.
Yeah.
At some point, let's say, have another major storm to deal with. So, okay, good. All right. Thank you, Bart. Update on staffing. We sort of hit on that.
Yeah, we interviewed one gentleman and like I said, I had a guy come this morning and he took a tour of the plant, seemed interested. And I told him when Josh gets back, we'll set up an interview and he seemed okay with that. So,
Right. And that's.
I mean, I'm glad that we seem to have some interest.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep looking if.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Knows,
And I really want to contact, like, Vermont Technical College and some of the high schools to see if we can get like an intern or something. Somebody that we could bring on young that would maybe want to work into the system and learn about it. Because it's a really interesting, I mean, I have really loved learning about everything, the biology, the chemistry, the math, everything that goes along with it. Is fun for me, and that's why I'm here.
I did reach out to Vermont Technical College. They do have a thing. So I kind of showed them, hey, can you post this out to your resources, throw it out there? So they did get back to me saying, yeah, we'll throw that out there. So yeah, I think it is just keep throwing those opportunities
Yep.
out there.
I wonder if CCV is another sort of venue.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
you think people start
Yeah.
doing technical training?
Or the University of Vermont, any of those, I mean. I think there's a lot of people out there that aren't aware that there is so much involved in working as a wastewater or water
very,
operator.
very applicable. I mean, you could spend 6 months to a year here, and then if you're in college even
Yeah.
before, and then you've got that on your resume. Practical experience is huge. You
I
just,
mean, I have a friend of mine who went to UVM for environmental science, was working at Essex treatment plant during the whole time. And now he's one of the lead operators in Burlington
wow.
and making a lot of money as,
There you go.
essentially right out of college.
Right. Great.
Watching system overflows.
Yeah.
That's right. Good. Did we mention?
NBRC.
Yeah,
NRBC.
NBRC, the Northern Borders Regional Commission, monies are grant, it's a grant, correct? Yeah, status, I believe that Josh is working on a letter to advise them that we're still interested in that $150,000, which would go towards the installation of the water sewer line out the gateway.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Josh has already sent the letter, or when he gets back, he just needs to send the letter to them saying, yes, we've had some holdups because of A, B, C, D, trying to sort out the easement and moving forward on that. Good. Wow.
And
10
then
minutes to
on one
spare.
other
Oh,
tangent I'll
Go ahead.
throw out right now. From our end,
Duncan, we lost our visitors again.
Jeez. From the water and sewer end, the switch over for emails has been terrible.
Oh,
I lost email on Friday, both I and Brad.
right.
And we still have not gotten access to them. Even talking with Simple Roots, and everything. Basically, we called them after Duncan advised us to call them. And they told us, well, we'll call you guys back this afternoon. And I don't know when afternoon stops, but I still didn't hear back then.
Oh, sorry, I was kind of missed that. So Simple Root never got back to you on the email?
We called them after you
Yeah.
told us to contact them, and yeah, Brad worked for like 45 minutes with them over the phone and they couldn't do anything for him. And I was hoping that once he got done, because I was busy doing things, that I would be able to, and the guy was basically, he's like, I'll call somebody and we'll get back to you, but
So
yeah.
this was deal with the Authenticator app, man?
Yeah, all that.
Yeah,
And
right.
so like I said, we've been without email since Friday.
And so Simple Root is,
There are
There are
IT
IT.
service consultants providers, so they help us with our servers. Amongst all the other good things we get to do in town, we recently switched from Google to an MS 365 environment last week. So that's required a couple little bumps in the road in terms of.
I mean, I don't
It's a
think
more
I'm the
secure
only,
system.
I don't think I'm the only one. I think there's a.
No, we've all, no, it's, I mean, even for, it's just a couple of steps you gotta do sometimes. Usually Simple Route very good at,
Right.
calling them up. They kind of walk you through it, but I just know adding this third party app is kind of a new thing that we haven't done yet. So it's depending on what type of phone you have, how you have a phone, for the first time in my career, I came in Monday to sign into email and it's like, oh, you can't get in yet till you go to your phone, so you go to your phone, it gives you a code, you type in a code and it all syncs up. So it's just trying to make it more secure.
second two-step sort of.
Two-step authentication, basically, but like anything in life, yes, more secure also means a little bit more
Right.
work and getting used to it and stuff like that. So we've had,
But I'll tell you, from my end, not having emails for
Yeah,
Yeah,
All
that's,
sorts
the
of-
problem.
right, no, it is, it's a
And
serious problem.
I just felt like, I needed a phone call back today and we didn't get one, so.
I'm sorry.
Let me ask this,
help with that tomorrow, Duncan.
Yeah. I mean, once again, that's typically they're very good of,
Yeah.
maybe just keep.
They
calling
have
them,
been
just
very
keep
good
calling
on
them
other-
up
yeah.
until this
I
point.
mean, I just,
And I know our assessors had an issue because it's, not really a town employee, it's an Emmerich employee. We're going down the, wormhole here, but it's just, there are ways around it. It's just, I saw the email thread today of like, oh, wow. That was a lot of stuff that had to take place. So I think they were helping that out and we'll try to get
they
that.
were
as quick
doing
as
other
can.
people, but
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I know. But we're kind of flying blind right now.
uh-oh.
do you have like login instructions,
at
like
that.
how to do the two-step?
Yeah,
Get a code?
and Brad. For this iPhone, which is a town phone, I can't get the app on. It won't load. Brad was able to load it on his personal phone. He couldn't load it onto the town phone. He got the furthest, but still couldn't access any emails. And then after 45 minutes on the phone with Simple Roots, he still couldn't, and they basically gave up. And
So you need an app on your
you
phone.
need an app on your phone to give you a code
Do you
to
have
put
to-
in.
You have to get approval to load an app on a town.
Well, I thought we had the passwords and everything on there but when we do it. And I don't know how old, I inherited this when I started. I don't know what age that this is, if it doesn't load or not. But like I said, Brad was able to put it on his and personal phone, not his town phone. And we still couldn't get in. So it's an issue right now.
Right. It took me a few times last week, tries to just talking with them before I finally got it going on last Tuesday. But yeah, likewise, it's like we don't all have town phones. So it's like it's my personal phone that's
Right.
being servicing as that authenticator, which I'm fine with, but it is one of those
Yeah.
little slippery slopes. So
Yeah,
if someone doesn't have a phone, how do you get into concerts these days? It's like poor people.
And I'll tell you my experience for the two-part, two-step authentication. if for the state system, I am getting codes all the time.
Mm,
Re-enter, re-enter, because,
Yeah.
you know, if you slow down inactivity, you're kicked out and then you have to log back in again
Right.
with
right.
another two-step process.
Okay, so security is an extra layer of.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of a different interface. It's not a huge thing, but it's not the Google Mail thing. So people are just going through a little bit of a learning curve this week and last week, getting used to all that.
So Duncan, could we also have a follow-up to say, do like anybody who needs to use email in the town, do they need a new town phone? Because it's not cheap, but if that's what it takes.
Right.
Because the other point for security purposes, if you're using your phone
Right.
Right,
for town business.
Right.
The ideal is not to be using. your
It's not
phone.
secure. Right.
right.
So.
It's the old Hillary Clinton email.
Yeah, but in corporate America, we all have to use our own personal cell phones for the second authentication. That's the standard operating procedure now. So just because you're in town doesn't make it any different. I mean, towns have public records. The only thing that's not public record is your employee information. So it's not really that big a security risk if you just check in town email.
It's actually not true. So if you text somebody from
Yeah.
their personal phone, that's public record.
Correct. That's my
But,
point is
yeah,
that you just proved my point.
which is why it's different than corporate America.
Well, everything's public record. That's my point, is everything is public record, so it's not
Yeah.
the biggest security risk. Because it's public record, you're allowed to see it anyhow. It's the authentication process that's not that big a security risk is my point to you. It's more of a security risk in corporate America.
So I don't want to debate that, but I'm going to ask the question of, do we need to have?
Right.
Public phones?
I've worked in education for a lot, and similar in education where I'm at a risk using my personal phone for education, even though I did, because someone could just say, that's ours right now.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So then I would lose that, then I wouldn't be able to do my work, you know, in theory, as an educator or as a municipal employee. So it's just one of those new sticky wickets that there's no perfect standard for business or municipalities, but it's the lay of the land. And but yes, I will follow up on that.
We probably have to.
Adjourn. Yeah.
Adjourn here shortly, but what is, so our discussion items for next meeting are,
I think we solved everything tonight.
I don't think we need to meet anymore. do
Right,
we?
yeah.
Yeah.
2024, here we come.
I think some of these items kick forward there.
Each
Yeah, yeah.
Items.
Staffing, gateway,
Repair.
repairs,
We'll probably need to report in as our subcommittee,
yes.
what we've chatted about.
Subcommittee on, policy for,
And by then, will they have come to see the tank? So that we will be able to talk about that?
I am still waiting. You guys approved the mixer PO. I sent it out to the company. I'm still waiting for a ship date for the mixer. I can't schedule the cleaning till I have a ship date
Okay.
because we don't want them coming twice to charge us to get in the tank.
Okay.
So I haven't gotten a schedule,
Okay.
the date, because I haven't got a date when the mixer will be shipped.
okay, good. Any other items to add?
If I think of something.
Unless I
I'll
got
email
it
you.
today in my email.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
good, okay.
Text us from your private.
Yes, okay, thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I will move to adjourn. Aaron Farr.
Is
I'm-
Bart, I'll second that.
Okay. Vote, David?
This is David voting aye for adjournment.
Aaron, I.
Bart, aye.
Morgan, aye. Our meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. We've already signed our documents, right? We were
I believe.
super efficient.
We are so efficient.